So today we have Alex Kessler on the show today. Alex, tell us a little about yourself.
Hey, so I am the host of the MMCast YouTube channel. I'm also president of a toy company that makes toys all around the world, and then from games to hula hoops, and then host of the Masters of Modern podcast.
No, absolutely. I found you through the Master of Modern podcast because of Magic the Gathering. But At the same time, I'm really interested in your company. How did you get into this? How did you what are you doing? What's your schedule look like? What's your day-to-day look like?
So we're a third generation toy company. So I grew up in the toy business. Both my mom and dad had different toy companies as I was growing up. Grew up in a toy shop. First job was, being a bouncer in New York Toy Fair, making sure people had the right type of badge if they were going to get into my dad's booth. Then out of college, I went into entertainment. I tried being a talent agent for a hot second and decided I didn't like it. Then left and started a production company. So we started doing a lot of video content. That's kind of how I got into Magic content creation. We had a web series called Top Decking that we did pretty well with. And then
it's hilarious.
That transferred into the Masters of Modern podcast. I mean, the reason the podcast exists is just all the technology we had from that kind of era. And then we were able to, we did this whole endeavor where we tried making like a Hulu competitor that was going to aggregate content on YouTube. That cost a lot of money, didn't make a lot of money. And then at that time, my dad sold his toy company to a larger company called Jack Specific. They're like they make action figures. If you had a WWE action figure in the 90s, that was them. If you remember those like my-size Barbie Stormtroopers that were out like 5 years ago, that was us. I was at Jack's at that time. And that was a blast, and ended up working there. I started in sales and then ended up being really good at making product because I spent my entire life hanging out in toy showrooms. And then Jax decided to kind of do a new division that was like the three different spring summer companies that they all bought. They smushed it all together. At that point, kind of the writing was on the wall, and so I left and started my own company. Kess ends up... Guys, one of the reasons I got into toys was to make tabletop games. So that first year, especially because we had a non-compete that we were very careful not to cross the line on. We launched like a tabletop gaming line. We made a game called Super Party Battle freshman year, which is like it started as a drinking game version of Magic. It was like the original design was even made during the top decking era when we were working on a game called Davros as a joke that was taking place during the show. And then I just kept kind of fiddling with it as my time at Maui and Jax. And then when just as like a hobby and with friends, and then we tried making it. You can buy it right now. It's on Amazon. It's fun. The cards are waterproof, and you're like trying to throw the biggest party on campus, and you'll attack other people's creatures. It kind of like combat kind of works like Hearthstone, where you can attack individual characters or players, and then whoever just gets the most points. Every character has their own like mini game, from stuff from King's Cup all the way to like do push-ups to kill X amount of characters in the battlefield. We call it Expel. And then so we launched that, and then after that first year, we did a whole kind of spring-summer launch. We launched two key products, the Drop Duck Ball and the Ice Hoop. Since then, we've been able to grow to Ice Hoop business. I'm now the largest manufacturer of hula hoops in the world, which is a weird title position to have.
Hula hoops is a big thing, man. It's like I see it in videos of like all sorts of festivals and all, like it's all over.
Mm-hmm. It's very wild. I mean, hula hoops in my blood. So my grandfather was the original manufacturer of the hula hoop. He like had the original patents under his name back in 1958. So it's like destiny, I guess.
It's in your blood, yeah.
Definitely was made fun of in middle school for being in hula hoop commercials, and now I'm the one making them. So that's wild. Yeah. So that's really cool. And then the ball, we a bunch of parenting awards, and then. And yeah, you can get them at Walmart, Target, pretty much anywhere you buy a hula hoop, we're one of them at that store. And then, so as the game lines go, so Super Party Battle eventually curtailed into a game called Super Party Battle Pong that we released this year. Yeah. That is we made a trading card game beer pong set where you buy a set of 20 cups. There's 120 or 112, I think is where we ended up, different cups available. And so when you buy it, you'd only get 20 of them, and there's rares and uncommons. And then when you make a cup, you gain a power up, and that can go anything from party games like forcing your friend to be a velociraptor to just like, you know, basic game stuff, like you get bounce shots now, or you can do behind the back extra shots every turn, or there's a whole library of different stuff like that. And then the last kind of game when this we're delivering in September, but we kickstarted 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, is Battle Bosses, which is more akin to like a Magic thing. It's less of a party game, and this is basically you get a collectible action figure miniature and almost like a Pop Funko. I have Iroh here to kind of show the size. Right. And they, you get that, dice, all the pieces you need. Your buddy buys a different action figure. They kind of, their boards combine, and then you use cards to upgrade and power-ups, and you fight each other. And we did like a $60,000 raise on Kickstarter, and we should be shipping in September, as long as, knock on wood. I mean, it's been interesting because over the last 2 years, the tariffs happened, and then COVID happened, and then, you know, there's been and the protests happened. So there's been so many like misfortunate moments within the world that keep delaying the delivery on it, and I feel bad. But we're finally, all of those things, unless there's, I mean, I saw a TikTok earlier that said the next thing in 2020 are actual real vampires. So who knows what disaster awaits us? But
oh, dude, well, COVID, the bat, I don't know.
I mean, like, the fact that we got from this year is wild. The fact that we got, like, one of the better jokes was, hey, your young adult apocalypse book series is really, really good. We think you went a little too far with the koala murdering fires and killer hornets. I think you need to tone down your dystopian novel. Yeah, it's been wild.
How's it affecting your business, like the whole COVID thing?
Ups and downs, right? Like half of the retailers were closed, so that was a big negative, especially like in the middle of our big, we're a spring summer company primarily, at least the hoop and ball businesses. So that was problematic. On the other hand, the retailers that are open are doing record numbers of sales. So it ends up probably balancing each other out. There were some touch and go moments over the last couple of months, but you know, we'll find out. The biggest worry at this point is we're in the middle of like pitching our next big line that we're going to be launching next spring summer, like all the new spring summer toys and the updates. And you know, there's always the worry that buyers will kind of copy and paste, right? They'll say, you know what, this year was weird. I don't want to change up too much stuff. I did a bunch of work last year to get it right for this year, and then this year was weird, so I don't want to mix it up because I don't have real data to drive how well I did. And then the question is, do they want to add an item? Do they want to change something up? And we have successes out there, so that's beneficial, but they could just do the same thing as they did this year, and then we'll see what happens then. Yep.
Yeah, so what I want to, like, I guess just to touch on your guys' products real quick. A part of my audience in general is going to be the autistic community.
Okay.
Those little balls with like they great stim toys. So if your child is on the spectrum and needs some tactile whatever, like, they should honestly check this stuff out because they'd be great, like that feel, you know?
Yeah, so the drop top ball is all about kind of the texture, right? Yeah. It's this spiky ball.
And the dice.
I have one with me.
It's a Kickstarter.
The dice, we have dice as well, yeah.
Sorry, you have a D20, like a big D20 too. Is that a Kickstarter? Or?
So we did. Battle Boss was our first Kickstarter. When you do a Kickstarter, it's, especially if it's your first one, you don't want to start second Kickstarters until you at least deliver the first one. Right. We've had plans to do a giant D20. I have one somewhere in this apartment, but I'd have to go across, and I don't want to interrupt the call. Yeah. But it's about the size of your head. It's a big D20 made with that drop dot material. And we had them as promotional things. We just brought them with us to shows because we thought they were cool. They were too expensive to sell retail, right? They're going to be like $25 to $30, somewhere in that range. And getting my retailers to want to sell a $10 ball versus a $5 ball is maybe my greatest challenge every day. So, but every show we've had them, people love them because they're cool. They bounce. You can bounce them. And they're D20s, which people love. And then to the extent that we had them, we did a big Magic trivia show at Magic Fest Vegas last year. For people that don't know, it's the largest Magic convention of the year, excluding this year. And each of our contestants were using these big D20s to like roll to see which category they would pick. And at the very end, the audience was so excited to get them that I couldn't stop them because they were prototypes, but they just threw them into the audience and they're gone now. But just people love them. So we're our Kickstarter, as soon as we're done with Battle Boss delivery, and we're outside of probably the Christmas season. You don't want to do a Kickstarter in December. People don't spend money on Kickstarters then because they want stuff then for their Christmas giving season. So probably January, February, we'll launch the next Kickstarter, which will be those jumbo dice. And you can sign up on the website, Kess.co. You can sign up for alerts to find out about that. And also, once Battle Bosses comes out, we'll make it available to sell.
What I think that those dice would be cool for is outdoor Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes. We've had that conversation on how do we want to include like a one-shot outdoor campaign with every dice in the Kickstarter. Just so like people can like go play Dungeons and Dragons outside. But you want to like take advantage of like what the outdoors are, and so what does that look like?
No, that'd be a sweet video if you can get it like done right. That'd be a cool video. No, that's cool, man. No, what a story, and you're super creative.
I do my best.
Hey, no, it's neat. What advice would you give to kids growing up, looking to live their dreams, looking to really do something fun?
Yeah, I mean, I think two sides of this, right? Doing something fun and living your dreams are not necessarily the same thing, right? Like, be opening to finding cool new stuff. I would say that I have a lot of friends who are like making a living playing video games, for instance, right? And that was literally the dream of every kid when I was growing up. And a lot of them, though, there's burnout, right? Because they've made their hobby their career, and so they are not allowed to not play video games every day, which is a weird dichotomy, a weird relationship you have with your hobby. There's kind of the joke of like, there used to be, if you do something you love for work, you'll never work a day in your life. But the other hand is, if you make a thing you love your work, you'll never relax a day in your life. And so, be careful with that, obviously. But on a positive note, find what you're good at, find what your skill set is, and then see which ways you can use that skill set in a way that's fun and that you enjoy, and avoid toxic environments, right? That's going to be always the worst part of it. And there's always going to be ups and downs, right? Like, part of my job sucks. I like fly between January 1st and March 15th, which is when the COVID shutdown happened. I flew 90,000 miles this year. And that's bad for you from a health perspective. So there's obvious, and it's part of it's cool. Like, I went to London, Germany, Hong Kong. I got to see really cool places, but also got like really sick in London. Just like 3 of the days I was there, just in my hotel room while they were doing construction at the same time. So that was miserable. So there's ups and downs, but I think that, it shouldn't find something you enjoy doing, but you don't need to make the thing you love the thing that you do, I guess is my point. You can enjoy what you're doing for a living without it being your main hobby or the main, you don't have to, if you love tennis, you don't have to make a living playing tennis. You can just enjoy tennis for what it is. Because a lot of the times making a living in the thing you love, for instance, I love TV and film, that's why I wanted to be a talent agent, or get in the movie industry, that always, the actual process of making it wasn't as fun to me as just enjoying the end result. Right.
Interesting. No, the top decking little series you did was hilarious, actually. It was well written. Did you write it?
I wrote the pilot and then was the showrunner. So we had, in season 1, we had 3 writers and a half. And I was the one doing kind of the blocking of what the plot was supposed to be, what the characters was, but we had people that were better at actually putting words to paper. I wrote the first episode, was all me, other than the dinosaur conversation, which was my wife. She imagined what conversations that me and my friends were having sounded like, and then wrote 3 pages of nonsense, and that's what that conversation ended up being. And then season 2, we had one writer. It was we had one person who did the whole season, and then we did all the blocking out and figuring out where the characters were going to go. And then he just did all the scripts because he was one of the writers on the first season. He did like the last 3 episodes of that season, and just he was easy to work with, and he was a good writer. So yeah.
No, how'd you meet your wife?
A Halloween party. So me and a buddy, me and 2 of my friends moved into an apartment together. She had interned with one of the roommates I had, so her and another friend were invited to the Halloween party, and I met her there. I was dressed as Link from Legend of Zelda, and she just didn't have a costume on, and I think it was pretty brief, that moment of introduction. I was like, oh, hey, I'm Alex, okay, bye, and then like ran off in the middle of this plastic sword fight with a friend. And then about 3 weeks later, she it was her birthday, and so she had her own party, and they invited us over because we had invited to their party, and then we ended up talking a lot that night, and then started dating, and then dated for 7 years, and then got married.
Man, I'm super lucky with my wife. If it was anyone else, she would have thought I was super creepy, you know? Like, I showed up at her work and hung out there all day. But, hey, it worked out for me. I'm happy.
Nice.
But
yeah, mine were a good compliment, because I'm relatively a giant mess, and she's good at cleaning that mess up.
Oh, that's cool, man. No, it's neat because I see her pictures on Instagram or Twitter, and she was in the Top Decking series, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was because she was trying to be an actress at the time. So She now works at AT&T in their marketing department, but at the time she was trying to be an actress. So she was the lead character, Becca. She like gets a job at a card store, and then hijinks ensue. We were trying to make kind of like a combination of The League meets Scrubs meets Community, but that takes place in a card game store. That was kind of always the intent, and I was trying to make TV at the time, so it was kind of like people always like, oh, our lives would make a great TV show. I was like, no, I'm going to make this, and it worked. It was cool. Exactly. I mean, like it sucks because it was like just at the beginning of like content creation on the internet, so like there wasn't really money in it. Like you just kind of like put money out there, and it was meant to be kind of like a hopscotch to next steps, and then the other like fatal flaw was that this is mid-20s, so like being edgy and like talking about drugs and alcohol and swearing and making pot references was like a thing that we felt like we needed to do, and so we did a lot of that, and it's hilarious. It like definitely complements the show as part of what it is, but it also prevented it from being picked up as a sponsor from any content sponsorship that was available. So like Wizards, like literally Mike Robles, who used to be the community manager for Wizards, flew down, came, we did a giant draft to my house. He got us a bunch of boxes of Ravnica. Was like, we love what you guys are doing. We can't officially put you on none of your pages because you make references to drugs in your show, but we love it. Keep doing it. Thanks.
That's so funny because I heard rumors of how Magic the Gathering was created involved some substances.
Oh, I mean, I think most adults to some extent are partaking at some point in their lives in that world. And if you look at the art of Magic the Gathering in the early 90s, you will notice some very cool stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting.
And messed up stuff, but yeah.
No, it's cool. Oh, okay, yeah. No, you covered so much, man. That was great. What are some of your meaningful like memories? Like you talked about the conventions with your dad and stuff, but like what are meaningful memories growing up, doing the toy business, like doing everything you've done with Mountain Masters? Like what makes it all worth it for you, you know?
Those are kind of two different questions, right? What are cool memories that influence stuff, and what makes it worth it? To answer the first question, when I was a kid, my parents were divorced, right? And so my dad was desperate to get as much time with his kids, even though he traveled a lot and he had to share his time with my mom. And so he always liked bringing us on adventures into businessy stuff. So every February, New York Toy Fair happens, and it's this big show. Now it's much more kid-friendly. At a time, like, kids weren't allowed in for reasons because they didn't want it to be public-facing. It's like a B2B, business-to-business based event. But my dad was able to like sneak us in. So we would go trick-or-treating almost around the toy building on Fifth Avenue, where everyone would have their offices, and just like get to see all the cool new toys that were going to come out. And it was always better to go the last day, like if Toy Fair fell where the Friday was the ending, so we'd be there on Friday when the show was ending, because we'd either be the weekend before when everyone was setting up, or the weekend after. And if you got there after, you just made out with like infinite toys, because you would go to showrooms and they would be like, oh yeah, we're going to throw this away. I got like, literally someone was trying to make like a foam Lego competitor, and they made a giant full body, like 7-foot knight of armor, like a suit of armor with a sword. And we like got the sword, the helmet. My cousin got like the chest plate, and they just like gave it to us. And we're like, yeah, we're going to throw this away. So there's like, that was really cool. And then getting travel with my dad to Hong Kong. So basically when I was 4 or 3 or very young, my dad was going to Hong Kong and China, and I was like, oh, why can't I come? Can I come? He's like, no, child. You can't come to China. You're a child. I can't handle that. We'll let you come when you're older someday, when you're like 12. Huh. He picked a random age that he thought was so indefinitely in the future that would never happen. I latched onto that number, and so basically at the time, at 12, I was like, I'm coming. You promised when I was born, basically, that I was going to Hong Kong when I was 12. So he brought me with him, and he ended up loving it because of the aforementioned, like, he liked having me around. He's my dad. He likes me most of the time. And would... like had like just it was cool getting to spend a week like adventuring around China together. So he kept bringing me kind of moving forward. But those kind of first trips were really cool, just to see another country, see how other people live. We got to go to China. We visited factories, which was very, very, very weird. And just kind of that whole experience was really cool. Yeah, so that's the first question. And then the second question was, why make matches? Like, what's the reasoning for everything? As far as the content creation goes, it's the people. I I'm so sad that all Command Fests are canceled, or Magic Fests are canceled this year. The fact that we have like a year where just like I have a bunch of friends I'm just not going to get to see. It was wild that like literally right before this happened, there was Magic Fest Reno, which for those who don't know, Olivia Gubert Hicks lives in Reno, kind of made it like every one of her friends came all at once. So it became this giant thing with a bunch of really cool people. Ended up being kind of like a mini Magic Fest Vegas, was a blast. And then that was it. That's the last Grand Prix. So it was wild that it went out with that large of a bang, and then just kind of and now we live in our apartments forever. Yeah, it's just like getting to meet, the fact that people like listening to me talk at all is wild. And just like hanging out with people, meeting new people, all that's really great. And just that, there are there are definitely negative parts of the Magic community, but the positive parts are definitely what make it worth it.
Dude, yeah, no. To speak on the positives, like I had my collection stolen when I first started out. It wasn't that big. It was a few modern decks, but people were donating cards. Shops gave me credit. Like that's the type of community that Magic the Gathering is, right?
Right.
And it's friends. It's like it's a way to have conversation, discussion while playing a game that is actually a bit of a like culture as well. Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah,
it's wild, right? Like I think one of the reasons the Magic community is so vocal is in some ways it's a lifestyle. Magic is a lifestyle brand more than most hobbies, even, because like I have friends who their entire friend group are Magic players. They all know each other from Magic. They've met every person in their life from Magic. They met their wife in Magic. Wow. They, like every level of their life was influenced by this game. I don't know many other activities like football, maybe like that, and not even everyone. Like you have to be you have to almost work in the industry to like be at that level of like how much this game influences people's lives, which is wild, right? That's something that you don't see out there a lot. And part of it is because it's so multifaceted, right? There's the story, there's the game, there's the community, there's the events. Not the game has like 16 different ways to play.
You can collect, you can not even
from
play.
Commander, which is multiplayer, to tournament play, to casual 1v1 games, to like draft, to cube, to wild stuff. Like, you know, I have had friends who've made like RPG campaigns where you play with magic decks and you get like new cards as you upgrade as you're playing. So like there's a whole spectrum of what's available in the game that's really great. Now, you know, obviously there are problems, and part of that is also just like the world is becoming a little bit more open to allowing different people play the game or be a part of things, and Magic is growing through that issue, and especially the nerd community was such an insular community up until recently. Partially because it was niche, right? Like, and partially because people are problematic. But the nicheness of it was something that allowed people to be problematic. And now that it's becoming a much larger brand and it's something that a lot of people are playing and more people are playing, nerd gatekeeping is a thing that just exists in everything, right? Like anytime there's a nerd, like a girl streamer, for instance, that's playing any video game, there's always like a fake game girl, which is extremely toxic kind of attitude about it. And part of it's just like, people want their thing to be their own. And a lot of the times the emotion of letting other people be included in that thing is people resist to it. I think it's very problematic. Yeah. And like, in general, I would recommend to the world, the more people that like your thing, the better. Yeah. Like when people got mad that Rey was in Star Wars, it was infuriating because I'm like, guys, there's no... Like, when I played Star Wars with my siblings, I have multiple sisters. I got like 8 characters to choose from, and they got 2. Right? Like, and that escalates to the African American community. Yep. The like stories of like the Latino community reacting to what's his face, not Jyn Erso, from Rogue One, Cassian. I'm failing as a Star Wars nerd. All their names is Cassian. It's his first name. His last name is going to be Rogue One. I got there. Cassian Andor. There we go. The fact that he like was the first Latino or Hispanic Star Wars character ever, or like at least that was like extremely touching to parts of that community. So like inclusiveness is so important, both behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, and it's cool that the world is growing to the point where that is making it happen. It sucks that it's taken this long. But as a community, our job should be to encourage this type of change and to make it more of a feature of what's going on.
Well, we got to make sure, absolutely, we got to make sure, like, you worked in customer service before, obviously.
Yes.
You must have seen racism even there. I see it prevalent. I mean, so prevalent.
It's part of everything, right? Like that's the like the reason that this moment is happening in time, right? Is it's people think that racism is just I said a bad thing or I directly want to murder. I'm a member of the KKK, right? Like that's where people are consider things problematic, but in reality, the real problem is a systematic one, right? Like it's microaggressions at every level. It's the fact that if you are a person of color and you go into a restaurant, they're going to question why you're there. Or if you're just going, the videos of people going to gyms in their buildings and then other people calling the cops on them because they don't look like they belong. Like that kind of stuff is like just a day-to-day activity. I think what's happening right now is happening partially due to the COVID environment, right? I think like everyone got put in a position where they're stuck at home, they're losing their job. This is affecting the communities of color in this country significantly more than others. And on top of that, you had the video from 6 weeks ago of the like white woman in New York who like called the cops on a guy for being like, yo, your dog needs to be on a leash because it kills birds in this park, and I'm a bird watcher. Which is the most mild offense I can imagine. And like she like used the police as a bludgeoning tool because he knew that they are a real threat, and like and you follow that with what happened in Minneapolis. You follow that what's happening this week with Atlanta, and like it's a consistent negative pressure in this country that is offensive, right? Like, and needs structural change to happen, and it needs real change, right? Like the mild choices of people trying to do it incrementally, or be like, no, we can, like, if we talk to the cops and make them have cameras that they have the ability to turn off, then that's going to do it. And like, there's you need to do something more significant. Which, I mean, the positive of Donald Trump is he's so bad. He's such a garbage fire of an existence that he's forcing a lot of these structural things that were kind of being able to be ignored or able to wave to the side, and he's doing such terrible things that he's forcing people to fight back, which is silver lining, I guess. It sucks that people are being put in these things, that people's lives are being ruined, and like, but at least we're living in a world where, you know, hopefully positive change comes from things. That's, I guess, where I'm at on that.
I think,
in general.
I think every single person needs to really take a deep look into themselves, and then really think of themselves in the shoes of these other people. Like those microaggressions you were talking about, it is so there. It is so there. I think that you're definitely onto something with that.
And I mean, like, beyond just like at retail, which is your question, but just like existence on the internet. Go to TikTok or YouTube and look at the comment section of any content creator who's a woman, who's a person of color, who's a part of the LGBTQ community, and just like see how much of a trash fire they are compared to even like ours or like someone who isn't a part of one of those groups. And like, I don't know how women are on the internet. I don't know why, like, I couldn't handle the constant harassment that just like existing as a woman on the internet comes with. I don't like know if I could handle and like that level of dealing. Just like looking at it makes me angry daily. Just looking at my friends being like, fuck every one of these people. Like, yeah.
Dude, and
be kind to people.
When you have a wife, you're a lot more sensitive to those things, because now I've stepped into the shoes of, you know, like what my wife goes through as a woman, and the comments that she'll receive, and so on, and you're just like, as someone who, you know, you marry each other, you think, you know, this is in a way, you get jealous over your wife or whatever, and it's just like, oh man, like, this is actually an issue. Like, people have a problem when it comes to that stuff and how they treat women.
Yeah, and like, you know, I do think you want to be careful of like contextualizing. Like, you shouldn't, like, it sucks that people need or guys need to like have a wife or a sister or like put these things in context of their mom or whatever to be able to like empathize, right? Like I really like there's been like 2 articles, and there's been a few people that have done this, but there's been 2 major articles that were kind of shared of like, guy at office changes his email and profile to that of his a female coworker, and they like switch, and then just deal with the passive aggressiveness that they deal with in the different formats, and just like have documented, like, look, these are things that I had to deal with, and these are things that she has to deal with on the exact same email. And because it's literally me, I'm just pretending I'm someone else, like, just like basic human decency, right? Like no one should have to deal with it. And there's a lot of obliviousness, right? That's the big thing that you were kind of saying, right? Is that you like can exist in a world not realizing, oh, this affects people, or this is happening to people constantly. And so when people are like, hey, this is happening to me constantly, like, oh, well, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen, you know, I don't deal with that on the internet. Everyone's really nice to me on the internet. And it's like, because you're a dude, or you're a white guy, or you're straight, or whatever. Like, you don't have these things working against you that are a constant pressure whenever you pay attention to most people in these spheres. Yeah, sucks.
Oh, absolutely, man. No, absolutely. The pressure's definitely there, and yeah, I hope for the best And I really hope out of this whole situation, people are growing from it, and it seems a lot of good coming from it.
Like the hope,
yeah,
in moments like this, are that this is a good thing, right? Yeah. Positive change will come from this, and already positive changes come from it, right? Yeah. Like everyone will be like, "Oh, protesters shouldn't protest that way," are wrong, because literally more changes happened in the last 3 weeks in regards to these issues than maybe not collectively my child, but maybe, like, to be honest, the fact that Minneapolis is defunding their police department is like fascinating. Wow. And like the processes that are now happening to kind of really reevaluate the role of police in society, like the whole defund the police situation, because people are reacting to that title of a call negatively because it sounds like we're just gonna erase police officers, but what it really is that right now police are responsible for way too much in our communities, right? Like they handle domestic disputes, they handle traffic stops, they handle robberies, but they also have to deal with like homelessness, and they have to deal with drug addiction, and they have to deal with and our answer is just put a gun to all of those people's heads, right? And in reality, speeding tickets are probably fine. I don't like them, but like from the perspective of like, yes, if people speed less people die, good. But those people don't need a gun. Like you don't need a gun to give a person a speeding ticket. Like most of Europe doesn't have police officers that are armed to the teeth, and they're fine.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I don't know. It's not like, I think just when I call 911, I already get ambulances, or I get police, or I get firemen. Whatever my problem is, there are right now at least 3 major divisions of organizations that they can designate who should be responding to, right? I don't get a fire truck if I'm being robbed, and I don't get an ambulance if my house is on, well, maybe I get an ambulance if my house is on fire. Ambulances kind of can go anywhere. Yeah. You can deviate that farther, right? You can have a domestic abuse apartment in the U.S., like social workers that will go if there's domestic abuse responses. You can have SWAT if there's a bank robbery. You can have detectives, like a detective agency that's meant to solve crimes, but isn't like, they're not going to a place they're going to interview someone. They're not going there to get shot at, right? There's different moments you need different tools, and you can deviate those tools in a way that isn't all one fund that just is pumping people into jail and are getting killed.
No, absolutely. Like, I've definitely met some good, some amazing police officers. I got pulled over once with a speeding ticket, and the guy was like the nicest guy in the world to me. I kid you not. I even called the district and was like, hey, you guys need to promote this guy. Buy him a coffee on me or something. But they're in the States. I'm in Canada. I'm just seeing the
You're in Canada. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm in Canada where our police are pretty great. I worked at Starbucks and had a good relationship with a lot of them. But I think that if we change the laws and we really break it down, be a little more libertarian and kind of let go of some stuff that aren't really causing any real problems to society or the system.
We also like, the fact that cops can't be, their records are hidden from public view, right? If I'm a bad cop, I can go get a job in Atlanta, no problem. From Los Angeles, because they can't look at my records from the people. I can say I was a police officer, I have these training things, I can provide them whatever I want, but I don't have to give them my record. If I'm, if I break the law, if there isn't I'm forgetting what it's called, but basically some type of immunity, there's another word, where if the law didn't exist, if there is not case law exactly what I did, for instance, if I killed somebody, but because I broke into their house, and they're eating an ice cream cone, if those exact same circumstances hadn't already been deemed illegal, I can get away with it. I don't have to be responsible. And just the responsibility put on them is also problematic. I can't speak towards Canada's police officers. I know that I sell hula hoops in Canada. That's the extent of my understanding of the Great North. But I do know that, like, the problem isn't individual kindness, right? It's a systematic problem. Like, you can have a cop that treats someone nicely, and you're a white guy, right? I'm a white guy for the most part.
I'm not white, actually. I'm Asian.
Oh, you're right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. We can edit that one out, maybe.
Oh no, it's fine, man. No,
Okay,
no.
right.
No,
Okay.
I don't take offense to that stuff because, like,
Okay.
really, it's hard to tell. We're on camera, it's Skype, it's pixely. I get it.
Sure. But like cops, individual cops can treat you nicely one time, but that doesn't excuse all of the other negatives. And that same, like, there's a lot of the videos with the protesters, right, where they were kneeling with protesters for a camera op, and one of them was very kind, but then literally 20 seconds later, as soon as the cameras were off, they're firing rubber bullets into the audience. So there's, and gassing them. So it's not about individual, it's about massive overhauls of every kind of facet of it, because a single cop can be nice to somebody. That's not the issue. It's that literally from training, they're told to treat people as sheep and that they are wolves and that they need to be on the defensive at all times. And at any moment, that kindness can turn into extreme violence.
Right. No, we do have a race problem in Canada still. It's not quite the same as you guys down there, but it is a problem here. I don't know, because I
know it ranges, right? Like, I know Quebec is a lot worse than other ranges that are better than other ones that, you're not all one. As the United States is one of the states, there are regions of Canada. I know that. I know something about Canada. I've been there. I've been to Toronto. I've had poutine. It was fine.
It was okay. Yeah. No, that's just it. It's pretty okay. We brag about it, but honestly, it's not good for you.
Well, I mean, my wife's from Mississippi. Oh. Quality eating does not equate healthy eating a lot of the time. California does. We got avocado toast. That stuff's great for you.
I love California.
Something we've done.
Everything had calorie counts on it. Everything had macro counts on it. Like,
oh, in LA?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing we do.
But man. No. So, are you in LA?
Yeah. I'm based out of Santa Monica. I'm in Hollywood. So, like, literally the Pride/Black Lives Matter protest is happening a block from my apartment. If I opened my window, we could see people walking towards it. So the protests in Los Angeles and West Hollywood were 2 blocks that way. The current protests that are happening right now are 2 blocks that way. I'm right in the middle of all of that. But our offices are in Santa Monica, and I grew up in Santa Monica. So my mom's house was in Venice, my dad's was in the Palisades, my high school was in Santa Monica, which is in the exact middle of those 2 places.
It reminds me of that Will Smith movie on Netflix. It was like ogres versus...
Oh, that movie is maybe hot garbage. And if you liked it, I apologize.
Oh, no, that's fine.
So it's famous for being... I highly recommend, there's a YouTuber, Lindsay Ellis, who's out there and does YouTube content, and she's really, really, really great. And does a lot of different cool, deep dives on different issues, and ranging from, really, really cool analysis of stuff like Bright to the entire, all of film school film theory, each of the different theories related to film theory, but applied to the Transformers franchise. So, Artur theory to... it's really good. All of her content's great. I recommend it. But she did one on Bright, and it talks about kind of what the issues with how they establish. There's problems with that movie from just being, kind of bad. But then, because it's written by Max Landis, who is a garbage human.
I did not know this, though.
Yeah. So, I wanted to make TV at one point. I know more about it than I would like to talk about. Max Landis is problematic. You can look it up. I don't want to delve too deep into that, but he is not the best. But he wrote that movie. So that was one of the last projects he wrote, and it had its issues because he got canceled during the Me Too moment for Me Too related activities, and then that movie came out. But he wrote Chronicle, which was the movie that launched Josh Trank's career, who was the one that he was the director of that, and then was the one that kind of messed, Fantastic Four ended up being a problem, and he was going to direct the third Star Wars. No, that was Colin Trevorrow. There was another movie he had that got taken from him. Oh, no, he was going to direct a spinoff. He was going to do the Boba Fett movie, which then became The Mandalorian, right? That was like his original plan, was to make that movie, and then they decided to do a TV show because Disney Plus was the thing that got created. But yeah, Bright is a movie that written by a white guy who has come from a life of extreme privilege that tries to use fantasy characters as a race allegory in Los Angeles, and that has issues. I've actually not seen it, so I can't talk too much towards what the movie itself is. This is from people I trust more than my current knowledge base. I tried watching it and then kind of gave up. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, you were going to say something about Bright, so I did interrupt you.
No. I was just, well, I mean, when I see Will Smith in something, maybe it's him that I believed in. I didn't believe in the writers. I believed in him, right?
Yeah. Well, and Will Smith, it's fascinating how Will Smith's career has gone because there was one point where literally every movie he made I loved. Basically up until even iRobot I thought was dope. I don't know what happened, what the next couple of movies were, but then like...
I just like Fresh Prince, man.
Yeah, hey, what's it called? I liked even like not Day After Tomorrow. What's the movie with the vampire zombies?
Which one?
I Am Legend.
Oh yeah.
There was Will Smith one. There's only one Will Smith zombie vampire movie.
Yeah,
I Am Legend. I think I Am Legend might be the last big Will Smith movie I liked. I think when you get into recent areas, it's just like he, for some reason, and maybe it's just like because he did the M. Night Shyamalan movie. You can literally hear the helicopters. He did the M. Night Shyamalan movie. That was bad. He did, which everything M. Night Shyamalan has touched has turned to ash. Recently he did Gemini Man, which was historic, like classically a flop. One of the interesting things, ADD Will Smith moment about Suicide Squad, though, is that Will Smith and Margot Robbie were the best parts of that movie by with maybe Jai Courtney's Boomerang Man or Captain Boomerang being the third best, which is wild because I don't like Jai Courtney, but he's pretty good in that movie.
Both Suicide Squad and Joker were hard. I had a hard time getting through those, but yeah, go on.
Oh, that movie was bad. I'm not defending Suicide Squad, but the defense I will give of Suicide Squad is that the movie is bad due to a wild response from the studio to Deadpool and how popular the Queen song trailer for the movie was. And the movie had no similarities to what that trailer was. Like, it was meant to be kind of a dark movie, and I don't think Suicide Squad would have been that great in its original form. I think it was probably just fine, but then it being just fine and the studio being like, oh fuck, we have something that's not good, and then reacting to that by being like, oh no, but this trailer that we just released people love, and it's got Guardian of the Galaxy vibes, it's got Deadpool vibes. Let's make it like Deadpool and Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's up the comedy using reshoots, and let's let the editing company who did the trailer re-edit the movie. They did that, and then they took that edit, they took the original edit, and then they did their own third edit with both of those smushed together to make what the movie ended up being. And I don't think it's possible to have a serviceable movie using those production choices. And so in the defense of the movie, at least in the defense of the actors in the movie, the performances they give, at least Margot Robbie, Jai Courtney, and Will Smith, they did the best they could, given the insanity of what that was in that movie, and to the extent that it sucks because it didn't do very well. But the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie that came out earlier this year was amazing. That might be my favorite movie. It's like that and Onward are my favorite movie of the year so far. Not that there's been many movies that have come out because coronavirus canceled the movie industry in 2020. Except for Trolls World Tour, which apparently is good. I haven't seen it yet. I saw Scoob, which it was fine. It's a weird it's not a Scooby-Doo movie, I guess would be the answer I would have for it. But
I like artistic. I want it to be very deep, meaningful, allegories, metaphors. I want, something you can actually dig into.
Sorry, you broke up at the beginning.
Oh,
what do you want it to be that way?
Yeah, no, I like an artistic film. Like, Star Wars has a great story,
I like the range, right? Like I'll love an artistic film, but I'm like all here for the Fast and Furious franchise, right? I have all 7 soundtracks on my phone right now. I'm here for a Marvel movie. I'm here for like I think movies are allowed to be spectacle and they're allowed to be fun, and I think movies can be serious and also have a message, and you can have everything in between. Yeah. You just want to be good, right? And goodness is debatable, though there are things that you can make sure you check off to make sure they're not bad. Yeah. Good editing, good acting, good soundtrack, good, like there's like the core of making a movie, and then writing takes a lot of the next level to that. But yeah, I'll take anything. This year, we're just not getting very much.
No, yeah. Some of the workarounds for TV shows are kind of neat. The American Idol one was cool. But yeah, there's not really a lot for content going on.
Yeah, it's wild because right now we're fine, right? Because most of the stuff that's coming out right now was filmed and was in post-production during COVID. So the stuff that was filmed for the first half of this year is still being released, right? That's the thing. And in animation, there's like the things that you can now do at home we're going to do. It's possible that we're about to go into an animation renaissance because that's one of the few things that all of your different people that are making that movie can do from their home versus the office. It's next year, that's going to be weird. And it's going to be weird for TV, right? Because movies, now is the weird moment. Right? They decided that now, like all of the movies that are not going to be made for next year, they're just going to release the movies that were supposed to release now during that time. So that, like, once we can go to movie theaters, or at least once whatever the future of movie theaters looks like starts happening, the movie production world will continue. We're in the dark times of that at the moment. But for TV, now is when they'd be filming stuff that they're not going to have available next year. So next year is going to be a dark TV war. We're going to have a lot of reality TV. Hopefully animation still is really good. That'll be great. There's going to be a weird moment where what we get, and there's stuff that I also don't want. For instance, I don't need every cop show on the planet who's acted as kind of propaganda for police offices in this country for decades to do a Black Lives Matter movement episode. Don't need that. They should not do it. Cops had the right idea by canceling themselves. I also am not going to look forward to the COVID-19 TV show. Like, someone's going to write a TV show or movie about what it's like in this lifestyle and period, and I don't need that. I don't need to watch that. No. I'm living it.
No, we live, like, it got to the point now, and TV is something that's already getting messed with. It's already kind of getting messed with. But now, I mean, the world is so entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, there's an answer that, like, a lot of what I've been watching as far as TV goes are news shows, the Colbert, probably actually of all of them. John Oliver continues to still do fire, but what's his name? See, now you're making me say names again, and I have to look it up.
I like Joe Rogan's stuff. He keeps releasing stuff.
Seth Meyers. Seth Meyers is actually doing a really good job, partially because both Colbert specifically has the hardest time where he's and it's gotten better, but at the beginning he was so used to having an audience, and his writers were so used to having an audience available to him that the jokes don't land as well, right? When you're like, I'm going to say a joke, cue for laughter from the audience, and there's no audience, it makes it a lot harder to watch. But I think they've all gotten better at it. It's those are kind of some of the shows that will be popular next year, right? Is the talk to camera live shows that are a little bit easier to do and have been being done since COVID happened.
Well, I think a lot of people are interested in information, and that like, because we're in an age of information where people don't know what they want to do with their lives. There's so many different things to do, and like by listening to something like this, they're like, hey, I want to go work for a toy company. People are able to learn.
Absolutely. No, it's And that's kind of what you have to do right now, which is good, right? This is the time to learn and to listen and to kind of figure out how this is all happening.
I wanted to save Magic the Gathering talk for last for those who don't care about it, but I do want to talk about it because you're more than just a prolific creator. You are the host of Masters of Modern.
Yes. Someone calling me a prolific creator is a fascinating moment, but sure. Thank you. That's really nice of you.
No, you are, and so that aside, no, the Master of Modern podcast is extremely entertaining. You guys are getting better and better and better as time goes on, which is awesome to see, and it's really a hot take on a format of Magic that is extremely popular.
Yeah, so it's been wild, right? We started the podcast within a year of the format being created, which is one of the reasons we were able to grow is because we just were one of the few people making content. We've always taken an approach to the format of like have fun with it. Me and Ben are never going to win a pro tour. That's not, and nor are Michael and Marshall, who are kind of the other people on the show regularly. It was always about kind of like, a lot of our audience came from the Command Zone. We were sister podcast with Command Zone for the first 4 years of the podcast existing. And so wanting to kind of give a introductory world to how do you take a Commander player and apply it to like tournament Magic. And what does that look like? We covered the news. We would cover like what was going on a little bit more topically. And then kind of do deep dives, just like having fun with it, right? Like Ben loves playing dumb 2-drops that like the Mir Superion, which is like you can't cast from anywhere and it's just a 5/6, but if you get into play early enough, it's huge. I'm here to play like good stuff decks that are just playing with as many different cards as I want to play with, and singletons are great. Why do you need doubles of a card? And just really approaching the format from a base level of like having fun with it, right? And then
not net decking, just enjoying the format. Net
decking happens, right?
It happens. It's fine.
The great sadness of getting into tournament Magic for me was the realization that every idea any person has ever had has happened already.
My favorite thing in the world though was when I brought a homebrew. I had this homebrew. It had a possible turn 1 kill. And it was like Swift Spear, a bunch of mutagenic growth, like effects, just Phyrexian mana. I go down to 2 life, and then I thud it at the end to kill them.
Sure.
But my favorite thing in the world was when I brought that deck to Magic Fest, and people looking on their little Reddit sheet trying to sideboard for a homebrew. Because they don't know how to do it. It's like, this isn't on the top 8. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's always the benefit, right? Like, the fascinating moments in modern history, to me, are the ones where decks that were a pile of cards that were legal the whole time, or, like, an innocuous card is added, like Colligan's Command, that, like, is not something that you would think would be, like, a total reinvention of the format. Yeah. And they create decks that, like, literally come out of nowhere and do what you said, like, I don't even know how to deal with what's going on, and B, how none of these cards it's not like a new card. It's not like they printed Uro and like, oh yeah, blue-green Ram strategies are better now. It's like, no, Zach Elsick and Reddit were able to, or the MTG Salvation forums, I think at the time, were able to like realize that Lantern of Insight and targeted mill effects can lock opponents out, and then also like are all artifacts that cost 1 mana, so how do we take advantage of that? And like top 16 a GP and then won a GP the next week later, right? Like, and like came on the podcast and was like, this is the best deck in the format by a wide margin. And we were like, this is a bunch of terrible cards. And they won a GP a week later. So like, that's Lantern Control. And like before that, all of those cards were garbage cards that no one even thought of being powerful. If you look at, the other big one was, Amulet Titan decks where like, literally, that deck had just existed, was like not that good, but then like two people were able to take it to a Pro Tour top 8, just like spike that tournament because no one knew how to deal with it. The fact that you can get Primeval Titan on turn 3 and win the game, or win the game on turn 2 even, using the Pact and Hive Mind combo was something that just like people weren't ready for. Being able to attack a format on an angle that's different, and that's kind of. And the other version of that to kind of talk towards it, and something that we've always kind of proposed, like believed in is being able to play Magic. Like you will have success in Modern if you pick a deck and just get good at it. You might not win a GP, right? Like the percentage of people that are going to win a GP shouldn't be the reason you're playing Modern or Magic in general. Like there are people that are trying to do that, and great for them. And they're some of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. But the grind of that has and most people don't want to do that, right? Or even if they do want to do that, you're going to have more fun playing Magic the way you want to play than striving to do that. And so play a deck you like. And, like, there's a reason Jund players just top 8 regularly. Because Jund players have been playing Jund since the beginning of time.
Oh, it's fun.
Which is like, what?
It's fun to play out of your graveyard.
Yeah. Well, and just, like, the deck has always been decent. At times it's been great. At times it's been bad. But it's always fine. And you've played against every matchup 100 times because you played this deck for 55 years. How old is the world? 4.5 billion years have been played.
Magic is as old as me.
And like Thoughtseize is always good, right? Like Thoughtseize followed by Tarmogoyf followed by Liliana the Veil is just going to beat people forever. Because there are just decks that won't be able to handle that. And they're of Thoughtseize, the decks that would be good against the Liliana the Veil are generally bad against the Thoughtseize. And the decks that are good against those two cards are bad against the Tarmogoyf. Like there's like, and they're all just like fine. But yeah, I like just like in affinity players with that. Obviously the biggest problem is cards getting banned. And that's always sucks. And RIP, Faithless Looting, Splinter Twin, and all of their friends on the ban list.
Faithless Looting hurt so bad.
Yeah, it except like that you did get the new piece. You got the adventure guy, right? The trader that lets you for 1 mana do half of it. And for 3 mana you get the creature into play. Like I think there's different pieces that are available. It's banning cards happens. But most of the decks that have cards banned out from them have some version of playability still happening. Amulet Titan being a good example. Faithless Looting decks, I mean, Dredge is still a real deck in Modern that didn't really go away with that banning, which is to say a lot for how powerful it was. Blue-red decks. Blue Moon top-8'd multiple Pro Tours after Splinter Twin was banned, right? Like Li Shitan took a blue-red Blood Moon based control shell that was basically every piece of Splinter Twin, but instead of playing the combo pieces, you played Jace and or Planeswalkers and Blood Moon, and had huge tournament success with it. So it's not to say a lot of the shells don't go away even though cards get banned. It's more that often those are just such high power level features to those decks that they need to be looked at. Yeah.
You play a little commander. Do you play Kess as your commander?
What?
Do you play Kess as your commander?
Yes, I have 2 Kess decks. One of them is right here. I can show you it. It is triple sleeve. Actually, both of them are triple sleeve now. I can triple sleeve this one, but
I should really triple sleeve mine. Maybe I don't know.
The other one is somewhere near me. Don't triple sleeve them. It's not worth it.
The deck boxes, you can't get it in there.
How do I shuffle? That's a good question.
No, yeah. So what? I have one competitive deck, one casual deck. When it comes to commander, competitive,
sure,
whatever. It really comes down to, play style a lot of the times to me. The hand you keep and whatnot. Like, it was supposed to be the year of Commander. It was supposed to be Command Fest. It was supposed to be all this great stuff going on.
Yeah, and in some ways it still has been, right? Like, one of the cool things that's happened, like, if you look at, I mentioned Olivia earlier, her stream, or even Chase's stream, or Jeremy Noel's stream. There's been a lot of really good just play Commander using your phone pointed at your table or webcams. Like the nice thing is that Commander, because it's a casual format, is like kind of keeping paper Magic alive at this moment when other formats of playing Magic haven't kind of been able to keep up. Or they're moving to digital, right? They're moving to Arena or Moto. So we're still not out of it, right? We still got I think we're still getting 2 Commander sets this year. We're getting Commander Masters at the end of the year. We or whatever it's called, the draft, the Modern Horizons version, but for Commander.
Legends, Commander Legends. Is that it?
Yes, that sounds correct. though, is redundant. And even like the beginning of end of last year was very commander centric, right? The launch of Brawl for Arena was a big deal. You had the regular commander sets plus the Brawl commander sets, so both of those together were really positive. And you had three command fests, right? And those were pilot program events, and we've already had one command fest digitally last weekend, 2 weekends ago. So stuff's happening. It's just, I mean, the COVID has put a big pressure point on the world.
Grim Tudor just got reprinted. What are your thoughts on that one?
It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, great. Like, it was really expensive. It was partially really expensive just to availability, right?
Yeah.
We did a review episode on MMCast. We talked about it a little bit, and our kind of eventual statement was like, it's cool that this is probably the best wide open tutor in Modern. Like, the fact that for 3 mana you can get anything you need, and there are decks that can take advantage of that or could take advantage of that is cool. Like, I think it'll see some play. Otherwise, I think what's cool about M21 is just the level of reprints has been really strong.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very good reprint set.
Yeah, they have the double masters coming out, the 21, lots of reprints coming our way. Magic is all over the map right now, and it looks like the Magic economy is not hurting, which is a weird thing.
Well, weird though, right? Because it's the opposite problem. Like, LGSs are hurting, and one of the reasons card prices are going up so much is because card availability is going down. Stores don't have, like, I think one of the most interesting MTG finance lessons I learned is that card stores go to GPs to sell at GPs, not to sell. They'll sell their, like, cool, rare stuff, but they are there to buy cards. Those are buying trips. They're there to have stock at their local stores, and now every LGS has missed every Grand Prix in the country for the last 6 months. So stores and retailers don't have the cards that normally players would sell to them, and or they're limited to, like, the few players that are able to sell to them in their local communities, and so they're stuck in a world where they don't have really the capabilities to buy cards. So, and the answer to that is card prices shoot up because no one has most of the retailers that would normally sell cards don't have euros to sell. And that's a standard card, not to mention stuff like old stuff that just is impossible to find.
Yeah. Oh, and I heard a rumor that people are now selling those erased from existence racist cards for ridiculous money now.
Oh yeah, well, because like edgelords and racists exist, and they wanna, and then there's the people that are taking advantage of the situation, which all three of them are bad, and like it sucks. I mean, like, in some ways, it kind of speaks to the mistakes Wizards made in the way they handled that situation, because it was not exactly. They didn't explain why these were they left kind of up to interpretation why they were thinking these were problematic. I mean, some of them are very blatant, but some of them definitely needed, like, there's definitely more threads of people walking through why each one of these cards were an issue. And also, it's a little bit of a, like a small gesture. None of these cards are format defining anywhere. They're all cards that, like, for the most part, a lot of them people didn't even remember existed. And are all problematic. I'm more pointing out just like that they could have made, like, the complaints. Someone made a good point. Like, if you lodge a bunch of complaints and you include the kitchen sink, sometimes just the kitchen sink is going to be fixed, and all the other ones are going to be ignored. And that's kind of one of the frustrations with, I think, what that decision was. I also think that there's. I was going to say, I had a point and I forgot it. I think that there was something I was going to say, but I forgot it. So here we are.
I've been seeing a lot of change going on, a lot of stuff going on, and it's interesting to hear it directly from someone in the States, and who's right outside everything too, because that's,
I will say for people that aren't in these locations, I have not felt safe. I think that there's a large public, there's a twist of the media trying to make these things seem scary, make things that they're doing terrible things. Yes, there was looting that happened on my street, but most of the community came out the next day, was cleaning it up. Zero spillover into residential areas that are literally like a block, not even a block, like 10 feet away from these store locations. There are people out there that are going to want to use some of that negative events to taint the whole movement in a way that will not be productive to having real change happen. And from a person who is literally within walking distance of these events happening, these have been, for the most part, net positives, and the community is able to kind of bounce back from them. Even like my local card store was totally looted, and they've been able to kind of rally the community. They're very supportive of the Black Lives Matter movement. The community has kind of helped them kind of respond to this, and have been very supportive. So I think, I would not listen to the negative vibes about what's happening within this movement that's going on in this country and the world. And that from a person who's literally next to it, at no point have I ever felt endangered or unsafe. I would rather people didn't fire fireworks off in the middle of the night, but that's a minimal complaint compared to what's going on.
Dude, that is incredible to hear, because it puts me at ease, for sure. It puts my anxiety. Because here in Canada, it is just like, the news we're getting is just fear, and we're just like, what's going to happen? So, no,
a great example is the Seattle, and there's problems with the Seattle zone, but the fact that, the president and the news thinks it's this terrible, evil thing, and that, Fox News photoshopped a guy with a gun in front of the picture of the sign to make it seem scary, but you can see, the clipping mask of his shoulder, which was hilarious. And you, if you, look at TikToks of people that are actually there, or just the Twitter accounts of people that are actually in the zone, it's, for the most part, just a really, communal farmer's market that doesn't have to have cops in the area. Everything I've seen, there's been 4 crimes committed since the autonomous zone was created. All 4 of them are one of them was a theft from 3 weeks earlier that was just finally reported because they noticed something in the cash register was missing or whatever. Another one was a fist fight between 2 people. They're all relatively minor, normal day-to-day issues, and there's a lot of fear-mongering going along around with these things, instead of looking at it and be okay, well, there's obviously a real complaint, otherwise this wouldn't be a nation-spread issue. Why aren't we addressing it? And it's easier to make it sound scary than it is to actually deal with the problem at hand.
That is a great take on this, actually. Very happy you shared that, because that's something that us in Canada need to hear.
Perfect.
Thanks, man.
I've helped the North.
Is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you wanted to bring up?
No. I mean, make sure to follow me on all social media platforms. If you have a kid, if you're stuck at home, definitely go to Kess.co. We have a bunch of we started selling stuff directly online for the first time, so you can buy these activity sets that have a bunch of cool toys in it, or we're also now selling the collectible beer pong game. Just drink responsibly.
Not the kids, the adults.
Yeah. Well, kids also drink responsibly by not drinking because you're under the age of 21, or wherever the drinking age is in Canada.
18 here. 18.
18. Yeah. 18. Wow, you guys are lucky. Otherwise, no, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Dude, thank you. I truly do appreciate you coming on, because honestly, that when people share their time with me, it really warms my heart. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime.
Yeah. So once I get this all edited out, I'll send it to you so you can see it. I'm going to be sharing it on my local network as well as YouTube channel. It's just starting out right now, the YouTube channel. But
cool.
Yeah, I'll link all your website, your social medias in the description and stuff. And guys, check him out, because his stuff is great. And if you're into Magic the Gathering, even better.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Then definitely, wherever hula hoops are sold or Magic podcasts are posted, either of those 2 things.
Sweet, man. Thanks
so much.
Yeah, you have a good day.
You too.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.